Welcome back to another episode of Light Beer, Dark Money. I'm Sean Nolan.
And I'm Chris Clements.
And this is epic.
It is epic. This is a dream come true.
Dream come true.
I mean, from a 16-year-old kid, hanging out in his bedroom, listening to angling his radio,
Big Red Machines,
to listen to one Dave Pratt.
Well, it's good to be here.
Of 98 KUPD.
You're good at that.
Well,
I've listened to it so much. You have no idea. I'm a total fanboy.
So both of you guys, I have 2 listeners. God, I'm pumped. That's terrific, and it's good to be here today.
You had the best show in all of radio history in Arizona.
Thank you.
Easily.
I appreciate
Without
that.
question.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And OJ couldn't make it today, so
Well, getting off right on the right.
Well, yeah, we just go right for it, don't we?
I appreciate being here. I didn't bring my note cards. Left them in Japan, but I'll do my best.
Well, it's so great that you're here because we're also celebrating our 3rd anniversary as a podcast.
Congratulations. Yeah.
And we would not be as successful as we think we are if it wasn't for you and your staff here.
Well, you're very kind to say that.
And we think we're really successful, but we have no clue.
Well, you are, actually. As Sean will attest, I don't do anything. It's all you guys and your producer, Robin.
It's our producer for sure.
And Rob Trigg, the video guy, I apologize for that. In spite of Rob Trigg, you guys are having success. Damn, that's huge.
Yeah,
that's
well,
huge.
and one of the things that I appreciate about you, Dave, other than the fact that we listened to you growing up, and it's just amazing
total
to be sitting
dorks.
here, is that you built this great network, Star Worldwide Networks, and the people you have staffing it are the same people you guys are doing the radio show together. I mean, there's a loyalty, a continuity. I mean, there's perfection from beginning to end.
Yeah, I'm really proud of that, Sean, and thank you. So, yeah, the staff that we have on the network side is very experienced because when people come to our network, I wanted them to enjoy the same experience level that I've been lucky enough to enjoy my entire career. So I brought in pros like Robin and Rob Trigg. He's been my best friend for 44 years, and he's been my producer for the same amount of time.
I've seen pictures with him with hair.
So it's scary, isn't it?
I know.
Yeah, but
like the mullet lives.
Yeah,
Rob
and
Trigg.
it's changed a little bit. Right now, he's doubling as the backup for Shrek on Broadway. When he's not playing Uncle Fester. So, it's changed a little bit. But on the agency side, Sean, to follow up on your nice compliment, we kind of went the opposite way because new media has taken such a big role. And that's one of the reasons why you guys have had the success that you've had and that you're having now is because you've taken advantage of all the tools and the resources that are available in 2024. You guys weren't stuck in a rut thinking, hey, we only want to do old school media, old traditional radio, television. You guys embraced the internet and everything it has to offer. So on the agency side, as our director of business, we went the other way, Sean, from crazy experienced people at the network to brand new, fresh blood, smart thinkers. Anna Rose Quinn is our director of business, and she is just out of Eller School of business. But I like that because she brings a fresh approach and she balances us off, and I think that's important.
Yeah, no question. Because this day and age, it's with the fragmentation of information, it takes a completely different viewpoint than old guys like us who, we used to just turn on the radio, turn on the TV.
Well, I mean,
read
like
the newspaper.
3 years ago, we just had an idea, right? I mean, we had an idea for the show, and initially, I would say it started off as more like NPR than KUPD.
Yeah, let's not mention NPR, okay? I'm not going to be employed there.
Well, they're in deep
future.
trouble right now.
Yeah, they are. They are.
Because they're losing listeners by leaps and bounds and have lost a lot of listeners like us who would listen from time to time thinking that they might hear something balanced, hear something skewed their way, but now they're almost completely off the reservation, total left.
What I love is that you guys mentioned that you're a fan of the show and you grew up with it, and I appreciate that so much. But I'm a fan of your show, too. And one of the things I like best is, again, you're taking advantage of all the resources available to you. So if somebody wants to listen to your full show or watch your full show, they can certainly do that. And every show is independent, and it has its own thumbnail sketch, its own respect. All your guests are different. You have great conversations. If somebody wants to enjoy the whole show, they can. But you also take advantage of the internet and you post short segments as a little bait on the hook to get people to want to listen to more. And honestly, guys, that's the secret of Costco. You go there, they give you a little piece of cheese on a cracker and hope that you enjoy it so much you're going to buy the whole box. That's the internet. And you guys are taking advantage of that, which is terrific. I love that.
Well, we're trying. You know,
high praise coming from
that is high praise.
Well, I use you guys as examples to newer hosts on the network to say, look, this is the way that you can do it. So you guys help me too, because I use you as an example of how others can have success.
Well, it takes a lot of work to put the show together, and it takes a lot of work to push it out as well. Yeah. I mean, between the people Sean has and then just our own efforts of, tapping into our networks that we have.
Yeah. People will never know, guys? They just kind of assume that, radio, especially radio, because it just appeared to be so easy. People just assume that you fell out of bed, showed up, did a show, and you're done for the day. You're gone, right? Much different than what people might imagine.
And you revolutionized radio here in Arizona at a time when it was kind of just, corporate and boring. And you came on and said, you were, what, 19?
Yeah, I was pretty young.
You were 19, and you blew up KUPD.
19, I had a mullet going for me. I was fresh in Arizona from the thriving metropolis of Elko, Nevada, where there's no such thing as a traffic report unless Otis is riding his cow.
Yeah.
But thank you, Chris. I appreciate that.
It's the brothel capital of the world, isn't it?
Yeah, they have 5 brothels in a town of about 10,000 or whatever it is. It was really interesting there, too, and I'll get back to your compliment on revolutionizing radio in Arizona, but on the brothels, they were integrated in the community. So the workers at the brothels, you would see them at the grocery stores. They would show up at the local high school sporting games. I played Little League, and I swear to God, one of the dasher boards was Mona's in the outfield because they were part of the community. I'd go to the commercial hotel and have a lunch. And, when you're young men, they love to embarrass you. So they'd stop by the tables and, how you guys doing? You're going to come see me in a few years, right? I'm like, no, how about this weekend?
Yeah, right.
Come on.
Why are we waiting?
Yeah, I actually, too much info, I know, but I actually lost my innocence at a brothel.
Oh, wow. Okay. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
She looked like a Dolly Parton impersonator.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah. At Mona's?
Boy, was I scared. No, at PJ's. PJ's. But I knew them all. PJ's, Mona's,
well,
Sue's.
Your posts about Elko, Nevada are some of the greatest things going on the internet.
I have fun with it. I look at Elko as a Mayberry. And what's really fun about that is the residents of Elko and the people who I grew up with, they get it. They love it. They think it's great. They're like, Dave, you're like the Chamber of Commerce for Elko. More people have heard about Elko because of you and your stupid posts.
Well, I mean, I never even know where Elko was until I started seeing your posts.
I still have to look on a map just to be able to find it.
So let's get back to like your beginnings, your humble beginnings here in the great
so
state of Arizona. You
come
come from Elko. You joined up with KUPD.
Yeah.
And then you decide to flip the switch and blow up the radio station.
Yeah. So when you talk about revolutionizing radio, I don't know if I really deserve the credit for that, but thank you. I think what happened is I really wasn't.
You became the #1 radio show here in Phoenix and in Tucson.
Yeah, I was pretty fortunate, thanks to you guys. But I think what happened was I didn't have the talent to do radio the old way, so I kind of had to invent my own way.
Yeah.
So when I came down here, it was, late 70s, early 80s, and it was the big voices in radio. And it was 7 seconds max. Do the time, the temperature, and introduce the song, and get the hell off the microphone.
It was like Good Morning Vietnam.
Yeah, right. It's like, here's another 4 in a row from Led Zeppelin. That was a big morning show. Yeah. But they would do it in this low whisper, like they're cool, and they had their sunglasses on
Jim
and all
Ladd.
that. So I came in and I just blew up that whole model. I came in, big smile, screwing around, yelling, screaming, having fun. And it just kind of changed the rhythm of what everybody was used to. And I think because I was different, it just caught people's attention. Not necessarily better, just different.
I think better. I mean, it made listening to the radio in the morning an experience rather than just a passive exercise of just listening to music. You were actually engaging the audience because, I mean, I couldn't tell you how many times I was talking back to you. I mean, and there was no other way, that the interaction, the interactivity that it created, even though it was not together, it was at the same time. I mean, that's, I think, what made it unique.
Oh, thank you.
Well, then you had your own branding and identity with the Big Red Radio and KUPD and the
Yeah.
You even had your own band.
You know what, though, Chris? I was too young for what came my way so fast. So the listeners were so supportive. I really didn't have the talent or the experience at that time to carry the name that was building ahead of me. So I didn't really have the talent to back up what this name was becoming in town. And that's kind of a scary thing if you think about it. Because, come on, I come from Elko. I didn't really have any experience. And all of a sudden, through appearances and, as you mentioned, retail, like some of the stuff that you see on the set today, we had our own stores. My own band was starting to move. We were pulling 10,000 people to arenas and coliseums, and I don't sing, which is hilarious. But it was a joke. But with the amount of attention and audience that we were getting, at that point in time, I really didn't have the experience or the talent to back it up. So all of that was kind of ahead of me on the curve, and I had to work really hard just to try to do a morning show that could keep up with the reputation, if that makes sense.
So
Yeah.
That's a fascinating look into the behind the scenes, because nobody would have guessed that.
Well, thank you.
But as I think about it, it's like, yeah, I mean, it did blow up. And how would you have been prepared for that? I mean, there's no training for that.
Well, there was some
especially when you're
real-
doing
Well,
it
you're
all new.
19, 20, 21 years old, and all of a sudden you're
was
the number
different.
one radio program in the state.
Yeah, there were some really good personalities on the radio at the time. Bill Haywood was on, Jonathan Brandmeier was on, Dave Otto was on, Howard Stern was starting to break out a little bit at a national level. Steve Dahl was making some noise in Chicago with his big disco demolition. Rick Dees was starting to make a name in Los Angeles. And a lot of these personalities were starting to come up. And you guys are going to laugh when I tell you this because it ages the period. But some of the so-called disc jockeys on radio were now starting to host national television shows. Rick Dees was hosting Solid Gold.
Right,
And
yeah.
Scott Shannon was hosting national countdowns. And MTV was hiring DJs to be VJs now on a national level. So the bar was starting to rise. And my timing was just really good. But I wasn't as good as those guys then. But I had to fake it because
you were there.
everything was just rising,
Yeah.
So it was a quick study, I'll tell you that.
Where did the Sex Machine Band come from?
James Brown.
Yeah,
Yeah.
from the song. But what naming the band the Sex Machine Band? Where did that?
So the Blues Brothers came out, and Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi were huge stars at the time.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get them on the air, but they weren't going to come on with some guy broadcasting from a trailer in Guadalupe. So they had other stars from the movie doing some interviews to promote the movie. It was back in those days. Like Aretha Franklin was in the movie, and Cab Calloway, and James Brown was in the movie. Carrie Fisher was in the movie. Do you remember all this?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So James Brown came on the show, and he was in town. I thought, oh, my God, I'm going to have the godfather of soul, James Brown, in studio. And all my listeners were upset because they didn't consider him to be rock and roll. I'm like, you guys might want to learn your history here a little bit,
yeah,
okay?
right.
But James Brown was in the studio, and I told him, I said, what you do, I respect it, but it can't be that hard. You dance around on stage, you sing a little bit. God, I could do that. It's no big deal. And he goes, you could? And I said, I could do that, no problem. I don't see the issue. And he goes, well, then do it. And I said, I will. I said, I'm going to start a band. And next time we talk, I'm going to have a band going. I got to come up with a name for a band. And he goes, well, you got the red underwear thing going. I said, yeah. He goes, I got this song called Sex Machine. Fall down, kiss yourself, I'm a sex machine. I said, I've never heard it. Play it. So we played it. And I said, I'm going to name my band Dave Pratt and the Sex Machine Band. And sure enough, I did. And I just went out to prove that it wasn't that hard. All the local bands at the time were really serious, man.
Yeah.
I mean, like they had, God, I forget some of the band's names. Surgical Steel was out there at times, some jet thing. schoolboys, whatever it was, Icon. They were all really serious about themselves. And I thought, this will be hilarious. Yeah. If you get this goof up there from a small ranch town up in Nevada. And sure enough, you know, pretty soon we had Bad Company opening for us, Ted Nugent opening for us. And you guys, this is the best part, Sean, I swear. Like Ted Nugent, when he opened for us.
That's when you know you're over your skis.
Yeah, that's right.
He shows up at sound check. He shows up at sound check and he goes, who is this? What are we doing?
He's opening for somebody who doesn't even know.
And I told him, I said, Ted, just watch a little bit of the show and you'll get it. It's no competition to you, I promise. Watch a little bit of the show. So we opened up, and the first song, I was with the Sons Gorilla, and I jumped on a trampoline with him, and we ended up in the crowd, and the crowd's passing us around.
Yeah.
And next thing I know, Ted's on stage in his loincloth. And he's having a ball. And I'm like, you get it.
Yeah,
now
party.
you get it.
Right.
And once they got it, and then they were
loved it.
They were all in.
Yeah.
Yeah, they thought it was hilarious. So.
Well, you mentioned James Brown, but that was the other part about your radio show that I always found really fascinating is that you interviewed some of the great musicians of our time.
Yeah, I was pretty lucky. 3 of the Beatles. I had OJ on. Did I ever tell you that?
No,
Yeah, how'd that go?
OJ.
That was probably
lived to tell about it.
I had him on twice. USC was in the Fiesta Bowl, I want to say early 80s. I remember I made a bet with him. I took Penn State, and I won the bet. And, of course, he was a USC guy. But at that point, he wasn't really doing much outside of who he was.
Right.
But the next time I had him on was only a couple years before really what he became famous for. He had a crappy movie. I mean, guys, a really shitty movie. It was called No Place to Hide with Chris Christopherson.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
And the fact that you've never heard of it says it all. I think Drew Barrymore may have been in that movie. But he did a cameo on my show to promote the movie. And Leslie Nielsen lived here at the time.
Oh.
And Leslie loved my show, so he said, I'm going to bring OJ down. So I'm talking with OJ, and Leslie Nielsen sitting there. And OJ said, hey, let's talk about Naked Gun. So I said to OJ, I said, the fact that you don't want to talk about your current movie tells me how bad it must suck. So he looked at me with like these killer eyes.
Right.
And he said, that's not very nice. And Leslie Nielsen was crying, guys. He had like tears going down his face. We go to commercial break, and OJ goes, man, that wasn't kind at all. And I said, well, you know, and he goes, no, really, man, you got balls. And Leslie Nielsen goes, that's why I love you, Dave. He goes, you and Bob Crane are my favorite radio personalities of all time. And I thought, later in my career, I thought, oh, good. Leslie brought down a murderer. And his other favorite radio personality is a guy who got murdered in Scottsdale. Right. God, I've made it.
Perfect.
Others, yeah, I had all the Beatles down except, of course, John, not at the same time. Paul came down on a tour called Flowers in the Dirt. He was playing Sun Devil Stadium. George Harrison came down with the Traveling Wilburys.
Oh, no kidding.
If you remember that.
Great.
And
Love
Ringo
that.
Starr started doing these collective tours where he'd have Burton Cummings from the Guess Who and all
Right.
sorts of stars with him. So he was always ready to promote. So, yeah, the Stones, 19 years old, as you mentioned, Chris. I was on stage bringing on the Rolling Stones. What the hell, Sean? What was I
That's
doing?
amazing.
What was
Well,
I
you were
doing?
you were living the big life.
Oh, I was so
You're living the life that all of us wanted.
The one
That was the
phone
thing is that-
interview, though, that
I was
made
so scared, man.
the one phone interview that made a big impression on a 17-year-old kid was when you had Bono on. And he was announcing that they were going to begin their world tour for the Joshua Tree in Phoenix.
Yeah, yeah. So we had them at Sun Devil Stadium.
Yeah.
And they couldn't have been nicer. And I wanted them to come down for an interview. And they said, Dave, the fact that you had us on to announce the show rubbed all your competitors wrong.
The wrong way, because we're the biggest band in the world.
And I said, I know, but why do you care about them? They're nobodies. My show's the best. So come down to an interview. He goes, we can't do that politically, but there might be certain things we can do. And I didn't know what that meant. So I'm on the air one morning, and I see outside my window TV trucks show up, and the Edge is there with his guitar, walking on our little adobe wall, with Bono in his stupid little hat. And they're goofing around and singing and having fun.
Out in front of
And
the Guadalupe
they
studio.
just wanted to bring us some publicity to say thanks.
That's great.
Amazing.
That's awesome.
Crazy stuff, right?
No, it was part of that show. I just having those guests on, and it was always a certain time during the morning, and it was usually right before I went to school, and I would like rush into the car and listen to you all the way to school. I just remember all of that.
And I try to tell my kids, and they're all young adults now, that it was a different era.
Yeah.
Because they'll say, Dad, was radio really a big deal then? And I said, look, take away this, take away any other form of distribution that you get your music on, and it was just radio.
Yeah.
And you listen to your favorite person in the morning, and that was it. It was a big deal. And to that generation,
They have no idea.
they just don't get it. They can't imagine waiting in line for concert tickets, or sleeping in line, or going to Dillard's on the second floor up an elevator.
I made that point in one of your posts the other day. I mean, try sleeping outside of Dillard's or your favorite band.
They just don't get it, Chris.
For an entire evening, and with your buddies, and you're in the car, and one guy goes in line, and then he comes back and goes to sleep. And the other person goes in line. Kids have no clue.
Since you guys are allowing me to tell funny stories, can I tell a quick one about the Rolling Stones? Rolling Stones come here in 1981. It was the Tattoo You tour, December of 1981. I'm nobody. I'm just getting started in radio. My job was to wear a little KUPD jacket and to hand out coffee for people in line, hand out stickers, work a little booth outside Sun Devil Stadium. That's the level I was at. And this guy comes out with an English accent and passes, God, all around his neck. And he said, "Hey, you the guy from the radio station? You the guy?" And I said, "Yeah," because I was.
Right.
I mean, I didn't know what he was referring to. He goes, "Come with me now, come with me." And I said, "Well, what do we?" He goes, "Come with me now." So I went with him, and I followed him backstage, and I still didn't know what the hell he was doing. And he gets out a piece of paper, and he goes, "Okay, so you got to mention there's no smoking, there's no flash photography. Mention the George Thorogood's up first, and then it'll be." And I'm like, whoa, what the hell are you talking about? He goes, "Yeah, use the center mic out on the stage." I'm 19 years old. Guys, I don't even have an air shift. I'm 19 years old. There's 60,000 people at the Stones. It's a KDKB show. I'm from KUPD. I'm there handing out stickers.
KDKB. Oh my gosh.
So what do you think I told him?
Even going back farther.
I told him, I said, "Hell yeah, got it. Got it. And George Thorogood, I'll never forget how nice he was, him and Joe Ely. George Thorogood said, "Hey, have you ever done something on a stage like this?" And I said, "No, sir, I'm from a small little town." He goes, "I'll walk out with you, and I'll make sure the microphone's on, and I'll show you where the microphone is." Now, that sounds really obvious, but guys, when you're on a stage of that size, it's not as obvious as what you might think. You got to walk through all sorts of crap to get out the center microphone. So George Thorogood goes out there, and he turns on the microphone. He goes, "When you're done, just say, 'Please welcome George Thorogood.'" I said, "Okay." So I did my announcements and everything. God, I was so scared. And I said, "Please welcome George Thorogood." And started playing. I'm like, God. So I walk off the side of the stage, and the stage manager said, "You nervous?" And I go, "Yeah." And Keith Richards, who I didn't see, was right behind me. And he goes, "Yeah, me too." I was 19. I show up at the radio station the next morning, and the owner of the station chewed my ass.
What? Why?
He's like, "Dave, I'm sitting there at a show." He goes, "I've never met you, by the way, but I know who you are now." And he goes, and you get up there in a little blue jacket and your hair, and you mention that you're from KUPD. And he goes, "KDKB's calling. They're pissed." He said, "All these Rolling Stone records and Tower records, they're all pissed. What are you doing on stage?" And I said, "I don't know." I said, but then I thought, okay, wait a minute. Let's be aggressive. And I said, "Here's what I do know. I do know that KDKB paid a lot of money to present that concert. And I do know that your station right now sucks really bad. You're in a trailer in Guadalupe. And I do know that none of the other full-time air staff personalities were on stage in front of 60,000 people. But I also know that your intern was on stage mentioning your call letters in front of 60,000 people in MTV. If you're pissed, you're pissed. And he thought about it. And he goes, yeah. And I said, so give me an air shift. Let's go.
That's fantastic.
That was it.
That was the
That is
beginning.
fantastic.
That's awesome.
Thank you for letting me tell that.
No, that
Absolutely.
is so good.
Such a
I
great
love
story.
Keith Richards. Probably has a big bottle of Jack Daniels. I'm scared too.
I'm on stage from Elko, and I'm like, oh my God. I mean, I think I once introduced a polka band at the VFW in Elko, and that was like my experience on stage. I'm bringing on the Rolling Stones. My God.
Just
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, and then you brought on U2, I think too.
Brought on
For-
U2, so
for-
many shows.
Yeah,
over
for
the
Rattle and
years.
Hum, the Joshua Tree.
U2, brought on Pink Floyd 2 or 3 times, brought on AC/DC, Springsteen, Metallica like 800 times. You name it, yeah.
But then you transitioned to country, which was sort of odd. I left for college. I came back, and you're on a country station.
Yeah, actually, I never transitioned format. I just kind of transitioned jobs, if that makes sense.
No, yeah,
Again, as I've mentioned several times on your show, I'm from Elko. It's not like I didn't know about country music.
Right.
You grow up in Elko, you're going to know about country music, okay? KUPD was just the station that gave me the chance. No other station would give me a job. I knocked on every door in town. So just by circumstance, I ended up on a rock station. But I was never this big rocker guy.
yeah.
In fact, probably a little bit on the geekier side, okay? But I was never that hardcore rocker guy. I just happened to be on a rock station, and I entertained the listeners well, really well. So it went like 20 years. And then when a better offer came up, and KUPD had sold at the time to a corporate entity,
Yeah.
which sucked. Once they became Suits, it wasn't KUPD anymore. They
Yeah.
moved out of the trailer, Sean.
That's terrible.
Once they did that crap, I'm like, you guys are missing it.
Yeah. You're not authentic anymore.
The road to Guadalupe was now changed.
The reason you were recognized by Rolling Stone magazine and Billboard and won America's Rock Station of the Year is because it was funny.
Yeah.
There's these beautiful stations all around the nation, and you're in a dirt lot in a trailer in Guadalupe. Fleetwood Mac would come by and want to take pictures everywhere, and they thought it was hilarious.
Because it's like this oasis in the middle of Phoenix,
No,
It's
I
like-
remember driving by it, like going there. Like I wanted to go see it, and so I drove by it one time.
We would do bonfires at night and welcome listeners and drink beers and hang out and take requests, and it was just the strangest station. And once they lost that magic, I didn't really care. What was I going to do? But I did want to prove after 20 years that I could win in another format, that it wasn't just the music. So just being the rebel I am, I thought, how funny if I became Cowboy Hat Pratt. I go on a country station, and that's funny enough. But what happens if I win?
Yeah,
That's even funnier.
yeah.
Well, within a couple of years, we won.
Yeah.
CMA.
right.
Number one station, number one radio show again.
They did the award at Madison Square Garden 2005, the only year that the CMA Awards were in New York City. And Jennifer Nettles from Sugarland, she was just starting to come up in those days, and she called and said, hey, you're going to be at the awards. And I said, no. And she goes, you're not going to get your award? I said, no, I'm taking my wife to dinner. And then we went to see Wicked.
That's classic.
That's why the corporate guys love me, right?
Right.
That's classic.
Fantastic.
Birds chirping.
Yeah, I
Hey,
know.
Pratt.
Thanks for letting me share
Sorry.
all these stories.
Yeah.
Well, Dave, thank you, because we wouldn't be where we are with this podcast but for you, because we had a situation where we started. We reached out to you, and you were incredibly gracious and generous to say, "Hey, we don't have anything like this on our network."
Thanks for answering my email on LinkedIn.
it was just
scared to
a
death.
cold call, right?
Yeah.
And
Like here's our stuff. Let me know what you think.
and you saw something that we didn't even see in ourselves, really, to be honest, because I don't think either of us thought.
No.
I told Chris at the beginning, I was like, I'll be shocked if we get 100 people to listen to us. But the fact that we're in thousands and thousands is just
you guys
amazing.
came up quick to the top percentage in the nation, and you're still growing, and you're still doing great. And I'll tell you, when I first received your message on LinkedIn, I did check out your show, and I thought, these guys got it. They're honest. They're not afraid to be opinionated. They have a take. They're well-spoken. let's go. That's when I contacted you guys and I said, look, take no offense. The only thing you need is better quality around you. Right. Your content's good. Everything you're doing, if you remember when I told you at that time, don't change anything. I just want to get better quality. I wanted to put you in a better vehicle. You can't win the Indy 500 in a Volkswagen Bug. You can't.
Right.
I don't care how good a driver you are. You have to have a vehicle that equals everybody else to compete. That's all we want to do for you. And quite honestly, you guys did the rest. So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
We're very, very proud of your show.
Oh, well, thank you. We are so blessed to be here and so blessed to be working with, Robin and hoping Rob's hair grows back.
And you put up with my old man stories. God,
no, we love it.
But
you
also
made me relevant for a
you
half hour.
You deserve to be commended for recognizing where radio was going and how the medium was changing and building something really unique.
Thank you.
And do you have plans?
Yeah. What's next
Absolutely.
for Dave Pratt?
Well, we want to grow the
reggae
agency
station
side. So there's two
Hip-hop?
sides of the bit. That's me. Yeah, that's me. Funky boy Dave Pratt. My first name in radio, by the way, in Elko was Boogie Shoes Pratt. So we're not
far off.
It don't matter if you win or lose. It's how you move those boogie shoes. So get on down all around town on KELK 1240 AM, the golden voice of the Silver State. Hey.
That's fantastic.
But we want to grow the agency side of our business. So we're a full-service marketing agency on the business side. But we also want to keep growing the network, and you guys are helping to do that. And soon, I haven't even announced this yet, but I'll do it on your show. I finally have the time again to do Dave Pratt Live.
Oh,
so it's going to come back, and
you've been placing some teasers online.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, so we're very excited.
So the Big Red Radio is back
to do the. Yeah, we're pretty excited to bring back Dave Pratt Live, and it'll be exactly as what you guys are doing, utilizing all the tools and resources available to us, not only at the network but in new media. So we're very excited for it.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That is great.
I just haven't had the time to do it, with the growing agency and stuff. And
well, and you're a amazing family man too. So you've been working on that.
I'm pretty lucky. I'm pretty lucky. So yeah, thanks for letting me announce it. And I did it on your show.
Absolutely, we are blessed. Awesome. That is fantastic.
If you don't deserve it,
who does?
All right. Well, thank you, Dave Pratt, for being here.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to be here.
Thanks, guys.
All right, God bless.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.